How does Governor Ed Rendell think President Obama is doing after his first 100 days in office? We'll ask him right now on It's Your Call. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Lynn Doyle, and on this edition of It's Your Call, we're discussing the president's progress so far in dealing with the many issues on his plate. Among them, the economy, job creation, dealing with the bailouts and the bonuses, and his first overseas visit as Commander-in-Chief. Joining me with his unique perspective on that performance is Pennsylvania Governor Ed Rendell, who, as you know, is in his second term as governor of Pennsylvania. That follows 2 terms as the mayor of Philadelphia and, of course, his stint as the chairman of the DNC. Governor, welcome back to It's Your Call.
Lynn, nice to be with you again.
Everyone is rating the progress of President Obama as we approach the 100-day mark. What kind of grade would you give him?
Well, it certainly hasn't been mistake-free. There were clearly some mistakes made during the vetting process and selection of his cabinet members, things that were very, very hard to understand how they didn't catch or how they overlooked when they nominated some of the cabinet members. There were some mistakes early on with the stimulus program. I think he deferred too much to Congress, and Congress put a little bit of junk in the plan. Even though it was a small percentage, less than 5%, it enabled the Republicans to deride the plan, and it created, at least at first in the public's mind, an idea that this was just wasteful pork barrel spending that wasn't really going to create jobs. And they didn't get the president out there as fast as they needed to do to talk about the stimulus plan. Had I been, let's say, his chief of staff, I would have had him be inaugurated on Tuesday, go to the balls on Tuesday night. Wednesday night, he would have made his first address to the nation, and he would have laid out the stimulus plan chapter and verse so the American people understood it.
Despite the mistakes that he may have made,
nonetheless, I think
he's still in that honeymoon period, as we call it.
Is he in the honeymoon period, but he deserves to be in the honeymoon period because the American people, I think, have assessed, rightly so, that here's a president who's willing to move, to take action, is not going to sit back and let events overwhelm us, but who's going to go out there and fight to make change happen. And the stimulus plan, again, I would have changed some parts of it. I would have had more money for infrastructure, but it's a good plan. It's what the nation needed at this critical time. The bank plan that finally came out about the toxic assets, it's been well received on Wall Street. You've seen what happened in the first week in April and the last week in March. The stock market made significant gains. March was its best month since October of 2002 in terms of percentage gains. So the people believe that President Obama is smart. He handles himself well. He's got great marks on his European trip to G20, and I think people have a sense of confidence in his leadership, even if they don't agree with every single program.
Now, we're going to talk more about the economic stimulus package and how it will affect not only this region but the entire country. But first, let's talk about the expectations that everyone seems to have of President Obama. It seems like this man, more than any president in our recent history, has literally the weight of the world. All eyes are on him, and the expectations are enormous on what he's able to do.
Well, there's no question. I think he inherited the worst set of problems of any president since FDR took office in 1932. And people have to be measured in their expectations. He's not going to be able to change everything, and he's not going to be able to change everything overnight. His first task was to turn the economy around. And I think with the stimulus program, I think as we get into May, June, July, and August, as people start seeing people going back to work, people who haven't worked in a year, as they see orders come in to steel factories and asphalt and concrete and lumber factories, I think there's going to be a renewed sense of confidence in the American people. And that's what we need. For example, the home crisis. Well, let's say there's a young couple watching us, and they both have good jobs, and they think they're relatively secure in their jobs, and they've been thinking about buying a new house. Well, why in God's name would you wait? Mortgage rates are at an all-time low. You can get houses more cheaply than ever, and you can get an $8,000 tax credit from the federal government. People are just waiting because they're not sure. When they see people going back to work, when there's a renewed sense of optimism, I think the economy can take off again.
Well, it's interesting you use the term two couples or two individuals in a marriage feeling relatively secure in their jobs. I think that speaks volume because people are only relatively secure. People who think that they have a job and a future with a company, then the next day read in the newspaper, oh my goodness, there's going to be 200, 300, 400 layoffs. So people are right to be somewhat nervous, and they don't want to extend themselves if they're not sure.
But everything is circular in this. We look to the market as a barometer of where the economy is, and it's probably a false barometer. But as the market creeps back, and as I said, March, as you know, the market had its highest percentage gain since October of 2002. Well, people feel a little more confident. And that businessman who was thinking of reducing his workforce by 1/4 says, well, maybe I won't. Maybe I won't. And then all of a sudden he gets some orders in because of the stimulus program, and he says, well, maybe I'll bring 10 more people back to work. And it's all very, very cyclical, and it's all very circular. And then someone who's been called back to work says, okay, I'm back to work now. I've wanted to buy that car for a while. I just read in the paper the prices they're asking for cars are so low. Let me go out and buy a car. And I think so much of what happened, because we're a society now that gets 24/7 instant news on TV and radio and everything, people got scared, and their fear became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now our hope is that when there are optimistic signs, when they see their neighbor going back to work and they feel a little bit more secure in their own job, that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy the other way.
So people should be optimistic, but cautiously
Absolutely.
optimistic, because we do have to be smart.
No
one wants
to
have a house payment or a car payment that 6 months from now they might not be able to fulfill.
Right, but think of what some of the car companies are doing. Very ingenious. They're saying, buy a car. If you lose your job, we'll take it back.
That's a great marketing
plan. It's a great
plan.
marketing ploy. Yeah.
Well, we're going to give our viewers an opportunity to tell us what they think about all of this. So I invite you to email your thoughts and your opinions. A couple of different ways that you can do it. You can log on to csnphilly.com, and then you put in It's Your Call or IYC. That's under the search key. That'll take you to my webpage where you can leave me a comment. Or you can email me directly with questions or comments for the governor at tcn_IYC@cable.comcast.com.